If you do find it, there's a very high chance that it is contaminated, which really doesn't happen. Uh, Somewhere along the way, I think I decided to do something about that, and that's how this project was born. Now, onto a very basic query. What exactly is gluten? Well, gluten is a group of proteins which is found in wheat and wheat-related cereals. Those who are sensitive to gluten can experience a wide range of symptoms if they consume it. Now, these symptoms range from a very severe celiac disease to wheat allergies to a generally mild NCGS. Today, about 1% of the total population on Earth is gluten sensitive, meaning that they have celiac disease. But another 5%, an estimated 5% that is, has NCGS. And it's to be noted that there is a marked female predilection. In NCGS, the sensitivity is not exactly to gluten. It may be, but it may also be to compounds which occur alongside gluten or are associated with it. These could be carbohydrates or proteins. Sometimes even FODMAPs, which are fermented oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols, have been found to be the culprit. Irritable bowel syndrome, which is a separate condition, is also theorized to be just the same as NCGS because all of their symptoms overlap, and irritable bowel syndrome patients benefit significantly when gluten is eliminated from their diets. A person suffering from NCGS can experience a variety of symptoms. They'll feel abdominal bloating, constipation, diarrhea. They may feel headaches, lethargy, joint pains, general feeling of being unwell, swellings, and a lot of other non-specific symptoms. Now, as is in any aspect of life, if there's a problem, there's likely a solution. And solution here is to avoid food containing gluten. As of now, there is no clinical treatment for NCGS, but we should remain hopeful because researchers all around the world are working on this condition, and we may have a treatment sooner than we expect. So, food containing gluten and food specifically which main component is wheat, barley, rye, oats, or anything of that sort, they're completely out of the question. You really can't be eating those safely. For example, rotis, parathas, puris, and our favorite naans. So it might seem easier as of now, right? But it really isn't. Because gluten is almost ubiquitous. And thanks to the poor implementation of regulations in India, this problem is only worsened. Even worse is that food that you don't expect to contain gluten. For example, asafoetida, or as you might know it, heme, soy sauce, tomato ketchup, even millets if they're ground in the same mill as wheat, they all contain gluten. Now that you've heard me go on about this condition for so long, you must be thinking, how can I contribute? Contributing here is very easy. It is as simple as spreading awareness. That can be done by spreading the word among friends and family, and especially helping people recognize the problem. Because a problem like NCGS is often very difficult to recognize because it's not severe enough for you to go to the hospital, but it is mild enough that it will cause you problems. I myself have made it a point to help inform and educate anyone that I can about this condition. I have visited, no matter where it may be, whether that be malls, restaurants, dhabas, the community, societies, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that awareness is created in the society for this condition. And I was really surprised when I talked to these people, these chefs and these managers. They really wanted to make a change for the better. I have even contacted the authorities, FSSAI, and I have asked them, requested them to stricten up their regulations. Just before we close, I have a little quiz for you. A non-celiac, gluten-sensitive vegetarian lady went on a plate. She ordered for dal tadka, rice, and aloo gobi. She made a conscious decision to avoid gluten, but hours later, she still developed uncomfortable bloating, headache, and pain in the finger joints. Why do you think this happened?
Dal tadka?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, dal tadka most likely contained asafoetida or heme, which contains gluten, like we discussed earlier. It may have also had gluten in the form of thickening agents, because gluten is used as a thickening agents majorly everywhere. Thank you very much for spreading the word around and attending this talk. I'm happy to take any questions. And another thing I almost forgot. I have a little treat planned up for you. So if you could please visit Papa's office, I have gotten a special gluten-free cake. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
If you have any questions, you can already ask him.
What are the substitutes then?
Substitutes, you can have jawar, bajra. You'll definitely find many more substitutes as well. For things other than rotis and parathas, I think if you use a lot of store-bought masalas, you'll have to substitute them with homemade masalas, because many store-bought masalas contain gluten. But other than that, there's a lot of options. It's very easy to substitute.
What about rice?
Yeah, rice also.
Rice is a substitute, right?
Yeah, rice is a substitute.
But have you kind of ever thought of curating an entire diet and providing it to these hotels? I mean, some of them have gluten-free options,
Yeah.
but like if you can create something and maybe present it that can be like your own,
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I'll work on that.
like maybe prepare an entire gluten-free diet.
Yeah, thank you.
What was Fasai's take on policymaking regarding this?
They have regulations. They've said that gluten-free foods have to be present in any restaurant that's rated above a B grade, but that's obviously not the case. And they've also said that gluten-free foods have to be clearly denoted in the menus with a special icon, and the kitchen for gluten-free foods have to be separate. But again, that's not really implemented.
What is the prime reason for this issue, this allergy? Is it like genetic? Is it because of some other reason you developed that?
So, in the case of NCGS, we don't exactly know as of now. It's not very clear. But in the case of celiac disease, the body identifies gluten as something foreign, so it creates antibodies to eliminate it. The problem occurs when the body is not able to differentiate between the gluten and its own self. So it starts harming the intestines and the villi in the intestines, which leads to
So this is like an autoimmune thing.
yeah.
Is it possible that people don't know that they have this problem and then
Yeah.
does that happen a lot?
Yeah. NCGS, because it's generally very mild. People keep saying, oh, I feel very bloated and this and that. But because they don't know that NCGS is a thing, they're never able to correctly identify it, and they're never able to take steps to prevent symptoms, which is to avoid it.
And how is it differentiated from IBS? Like irritable bowel syndrome is also very similar.
Yeah, exactly. So
Like the symptoms are almost the same for both of them.
yeah. So irritable bowel syndrome is now being thought as the same as
Yeah.
NCGS. So yes, researchers have noticed that the symptoms are majorly same. IBS patients have benefited significantly when they've had gluten excluded from their diets. So yes, it's a very high possibility that they're the same thing.
So during your project, this is a school project as you said, have you interviewed people who are suffering from this condition, who have identified that they have this condition, and have you spoken to them in the terms of what are they doing for their lifestyle management, or what are the obstacles they find in getting non-gluten products in the country? And have they had any long-term complications of this problem, or it just is like an ongoing, it's all the symptoms are like very mild.
Yeah.
They would kind of be classified like a nuisance in life rather than really hampering your lifestyle
exactly.
or leading to something very complicated. So is there anything on that?
No, not as of now,
Mm.
but that is the next step that I want to take. This project is still very new.
Okay.
It only began, I think, last year, November, October, I believe. So yes, that's the next step.
Yeah, because if you collect evidence
Yeah,
of what's
exactly.
happening in people's life,
Mm.
then to take up this case further makes it even stronger.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I had a family member, honestly.
Okay.
My dad had celiac disease, and
Mm.
to tell you the story about it, we only got to know when he was in his 80s.
Okay.
And by then his liver was very nicely damaged.
Oh.
And he had been, something that he's eaten all his life
Mm.
was taken off his diet,
Mm.
and that caused massive weight reduction.
Yeah.
And yeah, the last few years of his life were very difficult because we never knew he has this condition. So I think to identify this problem early on is really going to help people.
Yeah. Yes.
This is an autoimmune disease.
No. So celiac disease is an autoimmune disease. The cause for NCGS, which was the topic for this presentation, it's not exactly known. Researches are still being done on it. And this is the stark difference between celiac and NCGS. That celiac, the cause for celiac is very well known. It's very hard to miss celiac, whereas NCGS is very easy to ignore. It'll just be a small nuisance, like ma'am said.
There's no cure for it.
No, there's no clinical treatment for
So
it.
celiac
there any
disease can be
tests,
easily missed,
like clinical
honestly,
tests you can-
because
No.
even celiac disease just causes you frequent indigestion, bloating, and things like that, which people can easily misinterpret as maybe I've overeaten. And the thing about getting food allergies checked in India or getting yourself checked for whether you are allergic to gluten and all this, it doesn't happen commonly. So awareness is really important, and that's a very brilliant project that you've
Thank you.
undertaken. Yeah. So, like I said, he was in his 80s. He was 79 when we got to know that, okay, and all of this is happening because he has celiac disease, and it's kind of in the family. Nobody's aware of it, nobody's taken any steps. So that becomes kind of a serious problem, even though the symptoms are not so, so pronounced that you'll run to a doctor because you burped a couple of times in the day or your tummy is feeling bloated. You don't go to a doctor for all that, at least in this country. Yeah.
Vijay, you said this is a school project.
No, it's not a school project. It's a project that I've done independently because it's something that I felt really strongly towards, and the school doesn't really discuss minor issues like this. In school, it's just syllabus khatam karo, syllabus khatam.
Question should be asked, is that in school also you have a lot of like dining halls or mess or anything.
Yeah.
So have you presented this or have you spoken to somebody so that gluten-free options can be catered to in school also?
No, not as of now. But that is the next step. So to contact these places of public dining, to contact people who have NCGS and celiac to get their opinions and how we can help the society, help them feel included.
I had a question. So you said
Yeah.
women are more prone to this,
Yeah.
but then is there a racial grouping also, or just that have you looked into that? Perhaps that
There's no racial,
evidence for it?
yeah, there's no evidence for racial grouping. The only bias is towards women. Again, we don't know why. So
I have like couple of points to add. So I joined little late. So like this NCGS,
Yeah.
it's something I think medical team is aware. It's related to GERD. So when I was doing got market research report, so I come to know like NCGS population were also included in that prevalence study. So like it's GERD is very common in India, as we all know. Like more than 70%, 60% people might get in some time, at some point of time in their life. So I would suggest you can also include something related to that GERD in your project. Maybe you can also include some clinical research or clinical trial, like what's going on in NCGS, and in publication I can find that this is more prevalent. NCGS is more prevalent in children as well. Like they might be prone to more unhygienic food and these kind of things. So you may add.
Yeah, that should be.
Yeah, maybe it will be good if you compare the Western data to the Indian data if you have
Yeah.
any.
Yes.
Okay.
Then you will be having a know-how what's going on.
Okay.
And accordingly we can look into India because India is very much lacking behind in
Yeah,
this.
yeah, definitely.
That's a good thing that you can do.
Yeah.
Along with the diet plan, as she said.
Yeah.
Whenever you go somewhere, the only thing people will ask is what to do.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we have a diet ready.
There's a business opportunity here as
Yes.
well. Start supplying gluten-free food.
So please, if you could take just a moment to
And he has a
fill out
question.
these
I have a
feedback
question.
forms.
He has a question.
I'm sorry, yeah.
So is there a special check needed for this, or is it included in the all-round testings which the doctors do?
It's not a regular test, it's a food allergy test. which you do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
It's
there's
specific
no,
to the foods.
yeah, there's no test. You can't go to a hospital and say, please check if I have NCGS. But the way there's a pretty short way to see if you have NCGS is to stop eating any gluten for a week. See if your condition gets better, and then reintroduce gluten the next week and see if it worsens again. So if that does happen, it's very likely that you have NCGS, and then you can consult a doctor about it.